Contrasted with the phenomenal blue New Mexican sky, we are left to admire the traditional mission structures known as Gran Quivira, Abo, and Quarai, Salinas Pueblo Mission National Monument, a fascinating glimpse into New Mexico's history and culture. With a collection of ancient ruins, this historical treasure is nestled in the heart of New Mexico. Salinas Pueblo Mission's National Monument is found along New Mexico's Salt Missions Trail, Scenic Byway, which flows across the Salinas Valley. This paved two-lane byway follows old trade routes, rail beds, and footpaths. As you watch, you'll get an up-close look at the archaeological remains, including stone walls, ancient pathways, and the reconstructed sections of the missions. I wonder about the decline and abandonment of these structures more than anything. How can these places be flourishing commercial hubs, farming and church communities, and today lie in ruins and rubble, with much of the structures remaining buried? The Park Service offers an answer, but who really knows? Travel across America with me. The state of New Mexico has 10 national monuments, 1 national park, 1 national preserve, and 3 national historical parks. I will present a glimpse of these gotta-go-to sites in New Mexico at the end of this video. So now, let's look at the staggering architecture and historical significance of the 3 units. The primary structures which remain were built during the 17th century at one of the most extensive trade centers in the flourishing Pueblo world. Most of the Pueblo remains have yet to be excavated. Why are they buried? This was the place of a clash of religions also. The Spanish and the Pueblo priests viewed each other's religions through the perspective of their respective cultures. The Puebloan people incorporated a collection of rituals to influence a pantheon of gods, with kivas being the place of these events. Contrariwise, the Catholic Franciscan Spaniards insisted on the relationship of mankind with one God. This conflict created trouble in both cultures, and compromisers arose, which made the problem even greater. Our first stop is Gran Quivira. It is located 25 miles south of Mountainair. Gran Quivira was the largest of the Salinas Pueblos and an important trade center for many years before and after the Spanish entrada. In the 1660s, friars burned and filled kivas in an effort to exterminate the old religion. Hurriedly altered above-ground rooms converted to kivas attested the Pueblo priest response. A second church was begun around 1659 but was never completed, partly because Apache raids had begun. In 1672, further weakened by drought and famine, the inhabitants, only about 500 at that time, abandoned the Pueblo. Second stop is the church ruins at Abo, 9 miles west of the Visitor Center on U.S. Highway 60. The Abo unit contains approximately 370 acres. The number and size of the unexcavated Pueblo mound suggests that when the Spaniards arrived in 1581, they would have found a thriving community. In 1598, a party led by Juan de Onate came to New Mexico to plant a permanent colony. Onate called salt, which was abundant in Salinas, one of the 4 riches of New Mexico. I have mentioned Onate and his grand expedition in my recent video on Bighorn National Recreation Area, where you can learn about the fascinating story of the horses of Onate's expedition. Back to Abo. In 1622, a Franciscan priest was assigned to Abo Mission. Working with the Puebloans, he established the use of rooms in one of the Pueblos for an early convent. An early smaller Abo church and convent were built starting in 1623. Oddly, both Abo and Quarai contained kivas. Kivas were a place of Puebloan ceremonies and rituals, as I mentioned earlier, and was a point of conflict between the natives and the Spanish Franciscan priests. In 1640, a new, larger church was built around the smaller church, allowing services to continue until the smaller church needed to be dismantled and removed. Now, Abo had a circular kiva. We'll find in a minute what shape the Quarai kiva was. Renovations to the church and convent were completed by 1658, and like Gran Quivira, a combination of disease, drought, famine, and Apache raiding led to the abandonment of Abo in 1673. All things considered, these places aren't all that far apart. For over 100 years, Abo was quiet. In 1815, Spanish sheep herders attempted to return to the area but were pushed out by Apaches in 1830. Settlers would permanently return in 1865. The remains of these reoccupation structures can be seen today south and east of the Abo Mission. If you want to buy us a couple of granola bars or some fuel for our journeys, our Cash App is $spgdmg. Thanks. Back to the Byway. Now for our final stop, let's go to the Quarai Mission and Convent that were established in 1626 and overseen by Father Juan Gutierrez de la Chica. Construction began on La Purísima Concepción de Quarai in 1627 and continued to 1632. There, a square kiva was built within the newly built convent. Like the other missions of Salinas Pueblo missions, a combination of disease, drought, famine, and Apache raiding led to the abandonment of Quarai in 1678. Settlers would return to Quarai in the early 1800s, constructing the Lucero structures, which included a defensive torreon and the later Mazzano Church. Quarai has a museum and the most complete Salinas Church. There is so much more to the history of this stunning grouping of ruins. Plan a full day to visit this spread-apart site. We parked at an RV park in Mountainair and toured 2 of the sites one afternoon and the 3rd the next morning. The distance between sites needs to be taken into consideration when planning your visit. If you're looking for a destination that combines both outdoor adventure and cultural exploration, this monument should be on the top of your list. Originally, Gran Quivira was proclaimed a national monument in 1909, and it was not until 1981 that the other 2 ruin sites, formerly New Mexico state monuments, were added, and the Salinas Triad was established as Salinas Pueblo Mission's National Monument in 1988. Each site has an incredible, rich, and noteworthy history. The beautiful dark, starry nights at Salinas Pueblo Missions precipitated the International Dark Sky Association to certify this park as an International Dark Sky Park in September of 2016. Based out of Mountainair to visit this monument, this is where you will find the Park Visitor Center in the park headquarters. No park pass is required as this monument is free. But don't forget to get your park passport book stamped. The mission ruins and Pueblo structures tell a compelling story of both cooperation and conflict, providing a unique perspective on American history that you won't find anywhere else. And there are contact stations with limited hours at each site. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting travel adventures to historical sites in the U.S. Let me know in the comments if you have visited Salinas Pueblo Mission National Monument or if it's now on your travel bucket list. Stay tuned for more videos on U.S. landmarks, national monuments, and vacation destinations. Perfect for families and armchair travelers alike. Now let me show you the other national park units in New Mexico. We have Aztec Ruins, Capulan Volcano, Carlsbad Caverns, Chaco Culture, El Morro, El My País, Fort Union, Gila Cliff Dwellings, Bandelier, Petroglyph National Monument, the Manhattan Project, the Valle Caldera National Preserve, and White Sands National Park, and Pecos. You'll want to visit them all. We have flip-flops on the ground on Classic Road Trip.